What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Super Mario Bros. Movie, a movie that I genuinely, absolutely love. This was a blast from start to finish. I'd like to take some shots at Rotten Tomatoes and the critics over there for not knowing what peak cinema is. Honestly, this movie was great. And, review scores, judge it on your own, make your own decisions. I mean, ultimately, I think this is kind of a Mario fan's dream. As being someone who's had to sit through some of these movies or TV shows or whatever with these adaptations, right? Gaming becoming TV shows or becoming movies. Not like The Last of Us was pretty darn good. Even the Uncharted movie I surprisingly liked. I would probably say this is one of, if not the best. I think you'd have to bring in Sonic, right, for that comparison. I think the first Sonic movie is probably at least the best film that we've gotten, based off a game. This, I think, is right up there because it really is everything that you would imagine would be in a Mario movie is in it. The Mario Kart, obviously the background here, is honestly, it can't get any better than it. The visuals in this film are tremendous. I leaned over to my wife because I had to comment on the water. There's a couple scenes where it's either waterfalls or some sort of like river ocean thing, and the water just looks absolutely freaking beautiful. It really does. But the entire movie looks great as well, no matter if they're in the dark, in the light, different, atmospheres, whatever. This movie visually always looks really good. And I want to throw this in. Sound. The sound of this movie is spectacular. One thing to talk about, of course, is the voice acting. So I was pretty hard on Chris Pratt. Now, I am not, there's some people online that hate him for a variety of reasons, most of which I think are just complete garbage anyway. So there's generally like an anti-Chris Pratt thing that goes on, and obviously that kind of gives him a bad name. So when he voices Mario, I will say I was pretty hard on him. And even the first time that we heard him, I was like, all right, he doesn't sound too bad, but how is he going to sound throughout an entire film? So let's get it out of the way. In terms of the voice acting, crushed it. Everybody crushed it. Jack Black as Bowser is probably the greatest thing you could ever think of, right? It worked perfectly. He's got a couple musical pieces that I'll just leave it at that, okay? He sings, and there's some things that go on there. It works just as good as you think it does. For a Jack Black voicing Bowser in like a musical setting, it works just as good as you think. Chris Pratt, I think, phenomenally did Mario. I thought it was awesome. The opening really, I think, helps and kind of sets the stage, but I thought he was fantastic. Honestly, Charlie Day, who, when I first heard him as Luigi, I was like, you know what? If either of these two is going to be bad, I actually kind of think it's going to be Luigi and not Mario. That was what I thought. You can go back. I probably made a video on it or something. I think both of them, the brothers, absolutely crushed it. Really, Toad, Keegan-Michael Key. I mean, I think everybody did such a good job from start to finish and from top to bottom, the entire cast. Even, I will say this, I am no Seth Rogen fan at all, specifically the laugh, right? I absolutely hate the laugh like I think a lot of people do. He did laugh a couple times, and I don't know why they allowed him to do that. It definitely kind of broke, like, you kind of are sensing, oh, that's Seth Rogen now. Didn't love that, but honestly, even him as Donkey Kong, I thought was great. So I saw some people say, Donkey Kong maybe is the weak link. I think he was probably like 95% of the time really good. And then the sound beyond the characters is the music. And I mean, again, kind of a dream thing, right? Every song, every kind of theme that you want was put into it. And, I watched a couple interviews. Chris Pratt talked about this of like the "It's a Me Mario." Like some of his taglines are pretty hard to like work into a film. Like, why would you say that? It's me, Mario. How would that organically come up? And they talked about that they were trying to find kind of unique and organic ways to do some of these things. I was kind of on the lookout for those because throughout the movie, whether it's a theme, some sort of like musical thing, whether it's a catchphrase, I think they found awesome, really clever ways to put it into the film. Ways that did feel organic. You can't just go around saying, it's me, Mario. It's got to kind of come out of something, and they did. I want to talk about the paper-thin plot, too. I guess I'm basing a lot of this review off of what I've seen from other reviews, but if you're talking about the plot of this movie, it is simple, but I actually think it's extremely good. It's constantly moving. It's not too deep. It's got a middle, it's got an end, it's got some of the beats, kind of when the hero kind of faces adversity and kind of has to overcome it. Like, it's got all of the generic, I guess, or cliche moments that these movies have. But I actually thought it was like really good. The only thing I would say, one thing that I did kind of notice, in the middle of the movie, they did a lot of like jumping back and forth. They would show Mario and Peach and all that. They would do like maybe like 2 to 5 minutes, and they jump to Luigi, and they would do the same thing, and then they would jump back. And I believe they went back and forth, just like that, in that order. And it felt like kind of weird, where it's like, well, why don't you, like, maybe you could have just done all 10 minutes with one and then jumped over and did like all 10 minutes with the other. But it almost felt like they were trying to give everybody exactly equal time, right? So as much as you see Mario and Peach, you got to show us Luigi and Bowser. Like, those were kind of like the teams. And it was like, it's a little odd. So I would say in terms of pacing, it felt a little off. But I think the way that the plot worked, it's got heart. And it really does. Like, it's got that family theme, brotherhood. It actually, I wouldn't say like emotional or anything, but I would say they nailed it. Like, if they were going for some sort of emotion in this kind of brotherhood, family, this underdog, right, that just never gives up, the never give up kind of mentality, I think they had all of that in this movie. And ultimately, it's just thing after thing after thing that you recognize, whether it's enemies, whether it's weapons or power-ups or abilities or platforming, or basically just watching the game itself, right? Or in different games, different Mario games, Donkey Kong and the battle, obviously, that happens there, Mario Kart with Rainbow Road, it never actually stops. And I think that's to the movie's strength, because it's an hour and a half, and you're not checking your watch, not checking your phone. The movie starts and it keeps going, and then it ends. And there's really no time to kind of decompress. It's just thing after thing that you recognize in the Mario universe. And I would say, if I'm thinking about it, I think Sonic in the scenes that were Sonic in, his movies are so good, but then they felt they had to have the human element. And I think the human element is fine, but I do think it takes away from it. This is just Mario through and through. I guess there is some setup. There's the disconnect between like these, I guess, almost like fictional gaming worlds and then the real world, like Brooklyn, right, New York. So there's that. I guess that's their attempt of being, real versus fake. So a little bit of it. But beyond that setup, I think the whole movie is just Mario, just nonstop. This is a Mario game in a movie. So I think it was phenomenal, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, I don't give scores, but I'm telling you right now, the high 40s, low 50s, that's at Rotten Tomatoes is an absolute joke. It deserves way higher than that. I hope this movie goes out and gets like $1 billion, because I think it deserves it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.